Welcome to the Buylist. This is episode 6.
This is not financial advice. This is cardboard.
Nice flair there, Nate. A little bit newer format. We're trying to split out the EV section, and with some of the news today that we got from LSS, we thought do a little bit of recording here and talk about that. So, yeah, Nate. So LSS went and dropped Collector's Week on us.
Collector's Week. And what does that mean? Time for rampant speculation all weekend
Yes.
until we find out what any of this actually means. So we had to record.
Yes, for sure. So, what is Collector's Week? Let's run through it, or I'll run through it here. So, the gold standard. This one's a big one. Publication of the complete gold foil inventory, circulation, and drop rates. That's a big one. Collect what you love. Saint's going to be breaking down some of why they collect. That will be awesome to see. The ultimate flex. Learn how to build and play the rarest and most expensive hero in the game. That sounds interesting as well. Got to be a 10. Going to be breaking down some grading with Matt Rogers and PCG. Very cool. And another big one, print run updates for a number of sets, they say. So, Nate, what do you think?
Man, I got a lot of thoughts. I think everyone had just kind of like given up on print run numbers. Like last time they released print run numbers with Monarch, it kind of like murdered the market. Again, everything was kind of like down across the board, and then everyone was just like really overreacted to like Monarch first numbers being released, and like market is pumping, it's humming, and then they're like, you know what? Maybe we'll just release some more numbers and see what happens. In all reality, like a lot of this recent market movement, it's driven by, it was initially driven by player growth, right? Like we don't see some of the movement on the prices without players entering the market, and then some of the investors and collectors just came back in, got hyped, and just started dropping fat stacks. So it's just like a combination of like the two things that make a great game, right? Collecting, investing, and players. So it'll be really interesting to see how things react. And when we dive into the EVs, we'll kind of go into like what we expect from basically the core sets like WTR, ARC, and CRU, and what we expect to see going forward. So what has you the most hyped, Ted?
So the print run numbers are very cool. Like you mentioned, Nate, we thought we would cover this news tonight, and then also get into some of the EV of the sets that we expect to get these print runs on, which will be unlimited cycle 1. What's got me most hyped, Nate, is that first bullet point there, the gold standard. So what's crazy about this, and props, I put this out on my Twitter today, props to LSS for just openness, because we're not going to talk about it here too much, but they also talked about the draft status for PT for the PT in Baltimore. Props to LSS for that. But then also the openness, well, the openness of it, right? Like I whatever you think about the solution, yeah, it is what it is, but just how open they are about it. They're willing to at least address it once and let you know. But you know, this goes hand in hand, right? The gold standard, just being able to say, these are what's interesting here is they mention drop rates. So Nate, that kind of tells me that they're going to tell that there might be different drop rates for the shoot, I'm drawing a blank here, but the ProQuest gold foils. So is Code of Frost the rarest one? Is, you know what I mean? Because me too, but like I think that's super interesting because on the surface, and we've talked about this and laughed about it the whole time, is like that was like 15 of the coolest cards to be gold foiled, except for that one. It was like, this is like, what is happening? Why is Code of Frost in this lot? And if if it's like a factor of like 5x less than the others or 10x less than the others, that could bring it. It's still, for me, I would never like, I don't think about it as rarity. It's like playability to me if I'm going to get a gold foil. But
Yep.
for a collector, that could be like a huge like boon for them to find that card, right? Or go out and find somebody that has that card. Maybe a little bit feels bad less for the people that cracked one of those during ProQuest season. And then they're to break it down even further, they're going to tell us the inventory they still have on hand, which is like really cool, right? Like they don't have to tell you that. So yeah, it'll be awesome to see how the gold foils are handled and kind of get a glimpse into their process and thinking behind those prize cards.
Yes. I mean, like, what's funny, I didn't see a whole lot of gold, like Coda Frost gold foils up for sale. So either the people who opened them just burned it in shame, or like you might be right, they might be just more rare.
Yeah.
I do think it's cool. I think it's really neat look in on like their process, and I think it will give collectors more confidence to go after some of the gold foils, because I think one thing right now is like you look at calling indie, and I think there's like a Tekla Foundry Heart, and I think there's another like WTR Legendary opened, and that you look at it from a collector's point of view, and you're like, how much longer are these things going to be open? Because maybe I want to go get a like Tekla Foundry Heart gold foil, but like if they're going to keep printing these things and throwing them in the prize pools, like the values are just going to keep going down. So having that final number, I think, will give people that peace of mind of like, okay, this is going to be a safe investment long term. We talked a little bit about this ahead of this, and you thought there was like there's going to be like 20.
I think so. Here's my theory on this, and you kind of talked me off it a little bit, but I think because I don't know if LSS, and maybe I'm wrong here, but in my mind, and when I read this, it instantly went to they have to print new gold foils for every set, right? And there's probably 5 or 6 legendaries in each set. Yeah, maybe they don't do every one. Maybe they pick 3 of the coolest and make those gold foils. So that's like a ton of cards you have to print, right? And like we know that gold foil tunic was set at 50 and then it's done, right? They put out 50 of them. So maybe that is the standard. They set them at 50 and then like, you know, they just trickle in a mask here or there each calling or something like that. You know, the way it reads again, gold foil inventory tells me that they hit the button once and that printer revs up and they shoot out X amount and that's it, right? There's only 50 carrion husks gold. There's only, you know, and maybe that's just how they do it for every gold foil legendary. It's just like I could see them just setting it at 50 and then moving on, right? I originally I thought it was going to be lower just because in my head it's like, man, that's a lot because they always have to keep up, right? But yeah, it could just be a number 50, and then as soon as they get to them, maybe carrying husks go for the next 4 years or something as they sprinkle them out and sprinkle in new ones, things like that. So yeah. Let's look at some EV.
All right.
And so first up here is WTR Unlimited. Again, this is the same format that we use each week. Basically, we're doing percent change week over week and looking at the box value. So it looks like we got a little tick down from last week. Again, we saw it rising slowly, and then outsiders came out, and then as expected, these numbers are going to come down as everyone starts collecting their outsiders, right? So
yeah, we've seen it over the last 2 weeks come down as I think outsiders provides that vacuum into the market.
Yep.
WTR, what a beautiful pie chart.
Yeah. Rainbow foil majestics, man.
That's
E-Strike looking at you.
Yeah.
Looking at you. E-Strike is nuts. I think maybe it was episode 1 that we chatted about some of these rainbow foil majestics, but if you haven't looked recently, rainbow foil E-Strike is like $300, $250, $300. It's there was including myself, I think I mentioned this. I woke up one Saturday morning and was like, you know what? Rainbow foil E-strikes are hard to get. And I bought 3 of them. And I think everyone did that like on the same weekend because like the next week it went way up.
Yeah.
But we're now getting print runs of this set, I believe, right? It's not confirmed, but
I think it's very reasonable to expect print runs for everything that's out of print at this point. We
yeah,
haven't had print runs for a year and a
no,
half, and this went out of print after Monarch first. They know the number. They've known it for a long time. I think the boxes are hard to get. Like these just aren't sitting on shelves anymore.
yeah,
So I think of the 3, I think Welcome the Wraith will be the largest.
yeah.
And I don't think it will be close. Like this number could easily push like 250,000.
Yeah, this was a core set for the game, right? Like
Yeah.
if you wanted to start playing Flesh and Blood 2 years ago, or like, you know, or even recently, right? Like the core hero, these are the core heroes. They are you know, I'll just say it, right? They're simpler mechanic heroes, right? They're very straightforward. They all teach you something about the game, right? Like Bravo teaches you dominate, Reinhardt teaches you intimidate, right? Dory teaches you how attack reactions work. Very yeah, like when you get learned real quick by a Dory, and then you start learning. So yeah, I think like it is going to be larger, right? Monarch came in at 125. I suspect this will be 200,000 boxes. 200,000 boxes, maybe even more than that, to be honest.
I would be shocked if it's less than 200. Just
Yeah,
because this is what they did the Welcome the Wraith. Like they printed a
yeah,
bunch for that.
yeah,
So what, because these boxes are like they're definitely drying up. I don't think print run numbers will affect the box price at all. I
no,
think you might see maybe like a 5-10% retracement, if that.
yeah,
But these boxes are gone. The thing I think if the print number is very high, the thing that I think you will see a retracement on are going to be the rainbow foil majestics,
yeah. They're
because
still,
they've seen the biggest increase in
yeah,
like the last like 45, 60 days.
yeah,
And if there's a crap load of boxes, you know, they're like, listen, I opened a ton of WTR Unlimited when it was 180 a case. Like,
hmm
in all of those non-foil and rainbow foil majestics, they're literally sitting next to me right now. I just put them to the side because they weren't worth anything.
yeah.
Like I was just opening for Tunic basically to make my money back and then
Right.
keep everything else.
Yeah, I think to be honest though, I think that retracement will not last very long on those rainbow foil majestics, you know, and I think we're talking about E-Strike, right? I think E-Strike could take a hit, but I think it'll jump right back up, right? It's pretty hard to open those still, right? They're like like what's it, some of the guys in the Discord, right? They're talking that it's like fabled rarity almost, right? 1 in 40 boxes. Because, you know, you have a number of majestic, you know, you have the 2 majestics per box, which brings it down. And I just think it's hard to pull these, even at like if the print number's, you know, massive on this set.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at basically, there's ten majestics in the set. You open roughly 1 rainbow foil majestic a case. That puts you right at 40 boxes for an E-Strike.
Yeah.
The thing, like E-Strike, I actually don't expect any retracement on.
Yeah.
But it's going to be the other ones because once that boat sailed, I think there's a lot of people who are like FOMO'd into like, I'm just going to buy a bunch of Blood Rush Bellows because it's a brute staple and it's going to be here for a long time. And so like people are like, but I'm not going to drop like I'm not going to drop $500 on a playset of
Yeah.
E-Strikes, but I'm willing to drop $100 on, call it like 6 or 7 Blood Rush Bellows. And then if they see a really large print number, they might be like, I'll unload the extras and keep my playset maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Still, I guess closing shot, closing part, closing notes on this would be that again, draft set. So you see the legendaries are a big chunk of this set still. Rainbow Foil Majestics are still high, pulling its weight a bit, but it'll be interesting to see how this goes. Let's jump into the next set here, Arcane Rising. Yeah, it's slightly down again this week. I think we're still, again, I think all three of these, you see that Outsiders effect. As we get further away from it, I think that'll stabilize and maybe bump up, depending on how these print numbers come in at. Again, you see non-foil Majestics, non-foil and rainbow foil this time around. Pretty big chunks of the pie here.
Yeah. There, I mean, you got CNC and Art of War. Like, do you need to say anything else?
Yeah.
It does actually make opening ARC a little bit better in terms of like price fluctuation, because you like when you saw from WTR, it was like basically it's like heart, tunic, or rainbow foil, Easter egg, or bust, right?
Yeah.
But you've got a ton of hits in these sets, and all the even the super rares are very playable and good, because they have the tutor suite in the super rares. So
yep. We see a little bit of Azalea in these numbers as well, right? I think so yeah, overall print number runs, something tells me this will be under WTR, but it's going to be over Mon, right? That's the only thing I can really compare it to. We'll keep comparing it to that because that's all we got for like larger prints. Yeah, I think Arcane Rising is definitely not going to be printed as much as WTR. Like, Nate, as we've been watching the markets and the last 4 months, it kind of felt, actually, it's probably been longer than that. Last 6 months, kind of felt like Arcane was drying up quite a bit quicker than WTR was.
Yeah.
You started seeing some upward movement on box prices. So I suspect it's like 150, 175. If I'm going to say WTR is over 200, it might be like 50,000 boxes less than WTR, something like that. Who knows? But it's going to be less than WTR. I'd be shocked if it wasn't.
Arcane Rising is also a terrible limited set. Like, that is unplayable garbage, like in a nutshell. So I think that there was probably less of it open for longer of the game's life cycle just because it was so bad the draft. But I would actually be shocked if it was less than 200.
Yep.
I still am. Like, so I think that, again, like, there's just not a whole lot of this in the wild. These box prices will stay stable in terms of like that, but I think you might see EV retrace a little bit, but man.
Yeah. The difference here with the Mon first numbers, the last time we got print run numbers, is that these sets are not easily you're not easily able to get these, right? None of my stores have these sets, and they haven't had them for like maybe a year now. Like WTR hung around a little bit longer, but man, a box of ARC in my area has been extinct for a long time. Where Mon, like, yeah, no one had Mon first on the shelves per se at my locals, but like it was out there. Like you could go buy it. And then once the numbers came out, you could buy it in a lot of spots. Where I don't think this will just all of a sudden pop up like on shelves or on online stores.
No, it's a completely different market
right?
too. No, I mean, like the market's already unloaded, right? The heavy
yeah.
bags have been dumped in the sea. No one's holding back product. It's all gone. They've all dumped it in the last year because the market was terrible and everyone just wanted cash. So people dumped it. But yeah, ARC has definitely been a lot harder to get for a lot longer. So like, I don't even care what, like the number of boxes actually doesn't matter, right? It's like what's left, what's available, and like who's holding bags, and it's like who are the people who've bought multiple cases above 400 in the last 2 years, and the answer is not a lot of people. So like there's no one who's gonna be like coming out of the woodwork to like unload their heavy bags. like there
Yeah.
was for Monarch first when they were like, oh God, I thought this was like gonna go to the moon, Mon to 1K. What a bunch of garbage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but like there's not those people because no one's been shouting arc to 1K from the mountaintops. So
That is very true.
nobody's got it stored in the warehouse because it's like I was buying, oh gosh, it was probably like almost 2 years ago at this point, but I was buying arc cases for 240 shipped
Yeah. Yeah.
like regularly.
I grabbed a couple of those as well. Gotten nothing. Ugh. Arc has burned me pretty hard, man, opening it. But yeah, your point is spot on, right? This stuff's all been moved. No one's holding on to this. So let's move on to crew now. Last box here we're gonna look at. So crew, you saw a little bit of a jump this week.
Yeah.
The 88% that, let me just put a caveat on that. That was a buyout of Centauri Sabers, causing that rare slot to jump up quite a bit. I suspect that might come down a little bit, right? Yeah, I don't think Centauri Sabers are going to stay at $30 a piece. But you know, I think we've looked at this set a couple times, and like the thing to note about this pie chart is that it's pretty equally spaced out, right? Less legend, you know, these supplemental sets, like we've said, week over week, just kind of holds their value in the majestic slot, and then you know, and a little bit in the legendary slot. So yeah.
I mean, like, imagine one picture from a Facebook ad, and the world went insane. That's basically what happened with Centauri Sabers this week. If anyone needed to know, honestly,
yes.
I would not be surprised if that was an AI generated artwork because
It was supposedly an LSS, like they have to say who bought the ad, right, for Facebook now. And I didn't look, I'm going off of, I think it's a reliable source. It was Jotrick on Twitter, right? So he's a judge, he's well respected, I think. So I mean, he looked it up. I couldn't find it myself, and I didn't really take the time to find it, but it was an LSS ad, supposedly, and that definitely looked like a transformed transformed Kasai into a light warrior. She had the sash. It definitely looked like her. We'll see.
We will see.
It would be pretty spicy if an adult Kasai was in that set.
Dude, if an adult Kasai is in this set and is anything like her younger version, y'all went for the wrong target. Valiant Dynamos will be broken.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, that card can carry some insane value throughout the course of a game, and that's like, if there's an adult Kasai, that card's gonna be hot to try.
Yeah. So, but that bled, like you said, that bled into crew being pumped a little bit more here. We see the 6% up. You know, so people grabbing those majestics for her, and obviously Centauri Saber rainbow foils, which, you know, interesting. But so print run numbers on Crew Unlimited. I think this is going to be the lowest of the three that we looked at tonight, Nate. This was kind of an afterthought type deal. They admitted that they only printed it once, right? Remember that? Where they said, okay, this is it. Like one tapped, they shipped it out. It's going to be large. It's going to be a large print run. Like large as in like Mon 1. It's going to be more than that.
I think it's less than Mon 1.
Dude, if it's less than 125,
and I mean
these
total.
Boxes. Oof.
I mean total. I mean Crew First and Crew Unlimited, less than Mon 1.
I don't know. That will be interesting to see. I can see it being possible. I think if it is, yo, better grab your boxes. Because if this comes out less, whoa.
So we looked too before we started recording. If you look at like cases available on TCG Player, there's probably like 25 plus cases available of Arc Unlimited. Lord knows how many of WTR Unlimited TCG Player right now. 6 crew cases on TCG Player.
That's pretty nuts, man.
They admitted that they never even planned on printing Crew Unlimited. They didn't even think they were going to need to print it because it was a supplemental set. They printed it once. They never in their minds, and then they just kind of like, well, we got to print it because some of these cards are getting too expensive, and they did one tap and done.
Yeah.
I would be very surprised if that at least Unlimited was more than Mon 1.
Yeah, I think because this happened right after Mon 1, right? Like the release of it, not like the announcement of the print run. I would think that the one tap might come in right around the Mon first, right? Because they would have been planning this around the same time, the printings, or maybe right after. So I could see them saying like, we need this much Monarch first for the game size right now, and then they probably thought the same about. I'm there's a lot of speculation here, but I'm just thinking like they might have thought like, hey, let's just print 100K of these, right? Or 120 and just call it a day, and that will be enough. We'll move on. We'll do HP1, right? But yeah, I mean,
I think because it's a supplemental, they hit it. Like, I don't think they would have hit it as hard as like a Mon First, because Mon First was kind of like their coming out party.
yeah,
I think they wanted to make sure that that was like everyone could get their hands on it, and it wasn't a bottleneck of supply where they saw the massive expansion and they're like, we can't price players out of the game with our first expansion set to like as like a big company. So I'm sure they hit it hard just to make sure that happened, and then actors did what they did. But
yeah.
I think Crew might be insane. Crew is definitely going to be in total the least printed box in Flesh and Blood history.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I like Crew Unlimited, right? Let's be clear. Like, I think, the first edition sets will probably come in right around that 16,000, maybe a little bit more. But for Unlimited sake, yeah, I agree with you. It's definitely going to be lower than the other two by a far amount. Again, like I said, Arc has been extinct. Crew has been extinct for a long time.
Yep.
Like, that hasn't been on shelves for a minute, right? Because of just that one and done nature, I think. So, yeah,
there's been like a slow trickle of it for like our local LGS is like he can get maybe like one case every 2 weeks, but I think that died like a couple months back. But it was basically even like basically since they had like sent that initial wave out before the RTN season back in 2020.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
2021?
Yeah.
No, it was 2021. It was like that one big wave, and then it was basically like an incredibly little trickle from there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you can still find it, but like you said, it seems to be more or there seems to be less of it on TCG Player and more harder to get in general at this point in time. So yeah, I expect it to be lower for sure.
This is a box that will move.
Yeah.
I have no doubt.
Yeah, there's a lot of good cards in this, and a lot of them got reprinted in white border, so there'll be cards for the players, but if you want them in black border, you better get to moving.
Yep.
So, all right, Nate. I think that was a good discussion. Super hyped for Collector Week. And I think we're gonna try to do this every Friday as a breakout episode where we talk about EV, because I do update my EV for the Patreon every Friday, so we'll be breaking that out. And then Tuesdays will now become more of a deep dive pod, and then maybe just some other news that's going on, but we'll try to focus on player staples, and then obviously the fan favorite buy list, what we're trying to get our grubby little hands on that week.
Basically, what is Ted gonna snipe from me?
Dude, those snaps are so nice.
Oh gosh, so rude. So rude.
All right, Nate. So again, thanks everyone for the support. Hit the like button, subscribe, hit that bell so that you can get notifications every Friday and Wednesday when these come out, and then also my live streams on Tuesday. And
Thanks, everybody. I got some autumn's touches to pick up. So
Nice. See
peace
ya.
out.